Hello and welcome to Odd Sock Comics. I purchased another 50 Mylar bags and I'm converting all of my Artgerm collection into the Mylar bags. This is round 3 of 4, so I'm through about 150 of my Artgerm covers and other books into Mylar bags. As I did this, as I put them into Mylars, of course they look very fresh, shiny, new, awesome. So it's a great opportunity to do kind of an artist showcase. So this is my Artgerm artist showcase. This is going to have, some of the later part of the alphabet. I've been keeping them mostly in alphabetical order. Starting out with Blade Runner 2019, this book came out just a couple of weeks ago. I just picked it up. I actually had to order it specially because my local shops all ran out of it. But I was able to get it for close to cover price, a couple bucks more, including shipping. So not too bad, but cool Artgerm cover. All right, next up I have some Grimm Fairy Tales. So number 101. Then there's a couple more. I think that I had them in the last set. Alice in Wonderland, number 1, very cool cover. Neverland Hook. Grimm Fairy Tales Realm War, part 5 of 12. This one was really hard to find. I kept looking for it all over. I was seeing it online. I couldn't find it at the time for less than about $20 online, and there were only 1 or 2 for sale, and they were not in good condition. I ended up finding this one in the wild in Philadelphia? Yeah, somewhere in Pennsylvania. So it was cool to find that one in the wild. Robin Hood Wanted. I've got the retailer incentive of this as well that was in the last batch of books that I bagged up. Wonderland. I think this was one of the very last books that I was missing. I think this was the second to last. This was on my top 10 list for this year. I wanted so badly to find this in the wild, and I went to shops all over the country looking for it. Tons of shops, and I found all of the different Wonderland 25 covers except for this one, and I finally just gave up and ordered it online. It wasn't very expensive. It was only like $8. But I wanted so much to find it in the wild, and I was not able to. All right, Harley Quinn number 1. This is a retailer incentive. Very cool cover. I love Artgerm's Harley Quinn. So, yeah, that's a fantastic cover. Invincible Iron Man. This is one of his early Marvel, and this is obviously a Legacy Edition retailer incentive. I bought the 3-pack. Of the 3 different variants. I think there may even be one more that's just a sketch that doesn't have the gray on there. But anyway, got those 3. Gem and the Holograms. This book was surprisingly hard to find. I think this is a retailer incentive. It's not a large print run to begin with. It's not an easy book to find. You can go check on eBay right now. I don't know that there are any available. I think this one popped up one day, and it popped up at like midnight, and the price, I got an alert on my phone, and the price was within the range that I wanted to pay. Let's see, what did I end up paying for it? $38 shipped. So I bought it right then, like within a couple minutes of it going up, because it was so hard for me to find. Maybe I overpaid, but that one was tricky. And it's a really cool cover. I've got a Justice League, and I've got the sticker on the wrong side of that one. I'll fix that later. A couple more Justice League Suicide Squad. I only got the black and white of this. I know that this is a retailer incentive, I believe. There are color versions of that I may need to pick up at some point down the line. Justice League Power Rangers. This was the very last back issue that I was missing. And this one was ridiculously hard to find. I think that it was a split release. It's a retailer incentive, and I think that it was a split release, and most of them ended up in the UK. And I think Jetpack Comics in the US had a few of them. They had a few on their site, but none of the color ones. But I did end up picking it up fairly recently. This was the last one of the back issues that I picked up. This one I found all over the place. It's always in back issue bins. It's easy to find. Found it at about 3 or 4 different stores. This is the best copy that I've got. I've actually resold a few of them, and they always sell pretty well. So if you do see that one, in like a $2 bin or a $5 bin, you can usually sell it for 10 or more. Okay, Life of Captain Marvel. I have the first print. Is that the first print? I think that's the second print and the first print. Nope, this is the second print. but just subtle differences, just a title difference. So that's basically a worthless cover there. I think that the change that they did for Captain Marvel #1, the Walmart edition with the long hair, much better cover than this short hair version. All right, we've got Mira, Queen of Atlantis. Now we get into this run of the Mighty Crusaders. So this was the one-shot. I don't know if this came out before the run to introduce the team or what, but then we have the run, 6-issue miniseries, 2, 3. This cover I really, really like. I think that's... honestly, I don't even know these characters. I know the web, but I don't know who any of the other characters are, but that is a cool cover. I like that one. This one's pretty cool too. That one's The Stuff of Nightmares. My kids don't like this one. And then a team shot. But very cool set. Okay, so that's the first 25 of this batch. I just didn't want to start out with a gigantic pile, so I'll move those out of the way. Bring in batch number 2. Okay, next up, I've got the Mighty Thor 705. The Outsiders. Okay, so actually this was the last back issue that I bought because I didn't know this book existed. I found somebody else on the internet who has a pretty complete Artgerm collection, and they referenced this book, and I was like, whew, I've never seen that one. I had no idea it existed. It's the cover A, first printing, should be easy to find. It's just an average one in the run, but it's definitely an Artgerm book, Artgerm signature down there. No idea this one existed. All right, next up we've got some Peter Parker, Spectacular Spider-Man. Good set of Mary Jane there as, what is that, X-23? Phoenix Resurrection. And this one, I love this picture. I think I'm actually going to go get the Virgin variant. I really like this copy. It's still expensive, but that's one that I think is worth paying for the Virgin variant for. All right, next up I have Robotech. This one was really cool. The week that this came out was very early into when I was starting to collect. And I took my son to a store, had no idea that this book was coming out, and I had kind of talked to him about the Artgerm books that I was picking up, and he pointed to that one and he said, is that Artgerm? And I was like, no, there are no Artgerm books coming out this week. Then I looked closer, and sure enough, it's an Artgerm book. So my son found this one. I had no idea that it was coming out. Glad he found it because it's relatively hard to pick up. But they did come out with a second printing, added the little wink in. It's nice when they do something a little bit different on there, so I appreciate that. All right, now another Zenescope, Salem's Daughter, The Haunting. Cool cover. Spider-Gwen Ghost Spider, relatively new book. This one also was... I didn't even have reference of this book in anything, any of the lists of Artgerm covers that I found, but I've just searched Artgerm at one point, and this one popped up as a cover. Very cool. It's... Udon. This one I think you could only actually find at like a gaming website, is where they create or were selling this. I ended up overpaying for it because I did not know where on earth to buy it. I paid like $60, which is way overpriced because I think I could have bought it for like maybe $30 or $40 plus shipping. Would have been cheap if I had found out, but I found out too late. Anyway, that was a lesson learned. This was back October 2018. I probably found the website where you can buy it for cheaper. This one, I think it's probably still available on that website. I think they probably printed like 1,000 or 3,000. Not a lot of people buying it. Not a lot of people know that it's there. So if you want that one, you're interested in where to find it, let me know. I'll send you a link where you can get it for cheaper than that. All right, next up we have Superboy number 4. This is I think this is an incentive. This one was surprisingly hard to find. It's one of those kind of weird incentives in the middle of a run. There aren't a lot of them available. I'm not positive on that. It might not be an incentive, but I think this was where he did a Superboy, a Superman, a Flash, kind of all in that same period, and they were all incentives, and they were all hard to find. I've got them, but they were hard to find. And I think to finish this up, there may be one after this, but I've got the Supergirl run, so starting with 12. Now I actually need to go back and look at this and see if I'm missing any from this run. 13, 14, 15, 16, where they switched over to the new trade dress, which looks awesome. 17. This is one of my favorites. I love the retro look. I've said that many times, so really like this one. I also really like this copy, or this version. Those are two of my favorites. number 20, 23, the foil variant, 26, and 28. Okay, so that's the last of this run, and I think 28 is funny because he went from this anime style to like very Western style, and it's interesting to see that change. But so that is roughly, I think, 48 books. I used 2 of the Mylars that I had. I slipped over into a couple of books that definitely deserved a Mylar, some things that went into my Keys collection. But that's a group of 50 books. I think the next batch of 50, which I should get within about a month, will finish up my Artgerm collection. And that'll be obviously the books after Supergirl on the back end, and then a couple that I missed, a couple of the more recent books that have come out. So, this is a good platter of what Artgerm's done over the years, from some pretty early DC stuff before he was very well known, some odd titles and things like that, to this really high end runs that he's been doing. So definitely an artist that I appreciate. I think this was a good one to select. He's been very prolific. He's been on a lot of books across the board, and it's one that I enjoy buying. Now, I kind of said, I don't know that I'm going to buy all of the Artgerm exclusives. Like, he's got one for Marvel issue 1000 with Emma Frost. It looks very nice. I'm not sure if I'm going to buy it. It's $110 for 3 books. They usually resell pretty well, but my intention is not to resell, so I have to think, do I want to spend $110 to add that book to my collection? And I don't know if I do right now. I probably want one of them, but not the whole set of 3. So these are the kinds of things that I think about. I've picked up some of the more expensive ones, which I'll show in the final set, the ones that I have that are CGC rated, and are CGC graded, and the ones that I have that I keep in my special box. So I'll pull those out next time I do this. But so this is the Artgerm artist. What was I calling this? Well, shoot, I forgot. Artists Showcase. There we go. The Artist Showcase. So hope you enjoyed that. I do love me some Artgerm. So anytime that I find an Artgerm in a $2 bin or a $1 bin, I pick it up whether I've got it or not. It's one of those things. I'll do the same with Adam Hughes, but it's been a fun hunt building this up, all these back issues and stuff. Really a fun way to collect. So if you want any more information, if you have any questions about where I got them, how much I paid, I'm more than happy to share that. So just let me know what you think.